Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. I said last week was cold. Well, it's got even colder. This week the frost has been incredible. We've had really clear blue sky days, and that leads to very cold nights and super cold mornings. So much so that the frost has been really thick, staying on the ground for a really long time. And when I came over to feed the sheep the other morning, their water troughs were so frozen over. I had to crack it, and it was really quite thick. It looked like a pane of glass over the top of the water. It was so strange. So I've had to do that the last few mornings to break the ice across the top of their water, because even when the sun has come out, it's still been quite cold and it just hasn't melted because of how thick it was. I haven't done a lot of other things around the farm this week. I spent a day at Unwind for another series of soccer classes, which was really great. And then I went to Bendigo for the Australian Sheep and Wool Show, which I will share all of my haul later in this video. Last week I was telling you about the new colours I was dyeing up on DK yarn. They are now dry and reskeined. I haven't listed them in the shop yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these because I've only done one batch of each colour, but I'm really happy with how they turned out, and they'll make an amazing colourway for a jumper or a cardigan, as you'll see from my Douglas that I've made a little bit of progress on. So I have this one, which is the rust, and this one, which is the green. I think I'm going to call this one forest. So it'll be forest and rust. And I just really love the light and dark of the color and how the overwash has just muted everything out. And I think they're a neutral with still having a pop of color, and I think that's why they'll make really good colors for a jumper. I was also working on a colorway for Mary from Wow Crochet based on a brown that she had sent me to go with flowering gum. I have now got that dry as well, and here it is with the flowering gum. So I think it's come up looking really nice. It matches really well. I think I'm going to call this one Bark, which kind of works in with the whole flowering gum tree thing. So we're working on getting that to her now so that she can make a secret project that we're working on together. So that is really exciting, and there'll be more on that in the future once we've ironed out the details. First, to what I am wearing this week, I've got my flax jumper on, which I have spoken about before and love. And I have a very, very long brioche cowl that I made out of some Collins Craft yarn that I bought from the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show 4 years ago. And it was a giant ball, like bigger than my head. This is probably only about a third of the ball, so I still have plenty to make some other things with. And this was the outfit that I wore to the sheep show on Sunday, and I got so many compliments about this cowl. I think it was a super cold day and it was wet and rainy, and I was wearing a coat, and so this was out over the top, and everyone was saying how amazing and squishy it looked and how warm it was and the colors. So yeah, thanks to Colleen for this amazing yarn. It was fun that so many people complimented me on it, and I was able to share who the yarn was by, and to talk about myself and the pattern. And it was a really good way to break the ice on a cold day, because it was of such interest. Okay, first to project progress, and then I'm going to show you everything that I bought at the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show. I may have got a little bit carried away. You'll see. So, firstly, to knitting, and I didn't actually get a lot of knitting progress done. I've got my Douglas cardigan in my, I think I'm going to call this denim colorway. So, I've got both the sleeves completely done. Sleeve 1, sleeve 2. I now have, where is it? One pocket completely done. So there's the pocket there. And I've just finished knitting the inside of the second pocket. So I need to sew that down. So I am up to the band. And I got some advice from some people who have knit the Douglas before. And what they did is, in the pattern, it says to just knit a strip of ribbing and then sew it on. I was thinking, that's going to be pretty hard work. And I'm not a fan of the whole sewing bits together, which is why I normally do top down in the round where there's no sewing, and why I do toe up socks, no sewing. So I asked what they thought about just doing it so that you knit the stitch from the band together with the slip stitch from the side of the cardigan and just sort of knit it on as you go. And they said, yeah, that's what they had done, rather than doing the strip and knitting it on. So I will be starting that today. I'm hoping that it's not going to be too difficult, because it's only going to be like 20 stitches here, like added on. And I'm going to have to be moving the jumper back and forth to do knit and purl rows. So hopefully I've got enough that I'm not going to have to move the whole jumper around too much. So I'll see how I go. It probably will end up being a slow process, but I'm excited to actually be at the final stages of this, because I'd really love to wear it, because it is going to be a really great cozy throw on jumper. And if it's as cozy and comfortable as I'm hoping that it is, then I'm considering doing another one, and maybe doing some modifications to make it truly my own, which I tend to do with patterns a little bit. So, so there it is, my Douglas, almost finished. I did no other knitting at all this week. This was it. So very, very slow week. Okay, so now into all of the things Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show, Australian Sheep and Wool Show. So I went up on the Sunday. I went by myself, which I hadn't done before. I've always gone with friends, but it was actually a really great experience. I wandered around, took my time, was able to speak to a lot of the vendors, people that I didn't know, but also people that I'd met before, and it was really great to catch up with. Going on the Sunday, it was much quieter. There was not a lot of people around, so you had some space. I think also because the weather was such a rubbish day on the Sunday that it probably deterred some people who may have decided to come last minute if it had been beautiful and sunny. But because it was cold and wet, I think only the dedicated had decided to come out. So it was really nice. I spent a full day there, and I bought quite a bit. I didn't have any plans going in, which I think was kind of my downfall. I normally do have a bit of a plan. I will look up patterns on Ravelry. I'll write down sort of some colors that I don't have in my stash that I think I should add in for like projects that might come up throughout the year. And I, think about a jumper or whatever, and then like just plan to buy for that. But this year I had no plans whatsoever. So I've come back with a bit of a variety of things and a mix of different things. and it was a lot of fun. And my justification is this was making up for the past 2 years where no one went. So this is what 3 years worth of shopping in one go. So here we go. So I got a bag from My Creative Garage. There's the front with her little tag. Beautifully made, nice huge bag. This is what I'm now keeping my Douglas cardigan in, and it's got plenty of room. I've got my whole Chiagu needle set in here. I've got 2 balls of yarn, the pattern, so it's plenty of room. It's got great pockets inside, and yeah, so that's the bag. I also bought, let me get this off, the most adorable little stitch marker from Tea Time Yarn Retreats. Just a little sock. I decided that I needed to have a sock, seeing as I'm so obsessed with sock knitting and doing the classes and everything, and I did not have a stitch marker that had a sock on it. So there's that. Okay. Now, I've got so many bags down here. All right, let's start with this one. I got 2 sets of these cute little yarn bags. So you put your ball of yarn in it and it stops it from getting all messed up in your bag. And they've also got press studs on the side, so you can clip multiple bags together so that you can keep all your balls of yarn sorted out. So I'm thinking for 2 at a time socks or color work, or alternating skeins when you're using hand-dyed yarn, that these will be perfect to not get your balls mixed up, and then you can just move the bags around. So these were made by Yarn Creative, and I got 2 sets the same, except the press studs are pink on this set and orange on this set. Of course, I visited Colleen and I told her about all the compliments I was getting on my cowl, and I had to purchase more yarn from her because I do love her yarn so much. So I got, well, this one's coming apart. I got 2 of these dark green, and this is a Corriedale wool, which was grey and then over dyed with a kelp green. So it's 2 skeins, which equals 230 grams total. And then I bought this to go with it. And I'm thinking that I'll make a 2-color shawl. I haven't decided on the shawl yet. But I think that would just look really pretty to have these similar greens and pops of purple and that little light pink and sort of orange with this dark green. So got to come up with a project for this one. From Bombed Yarns, who is Sarah, she's from Tasmania, I got this beautiful skein of self-striping yarn. I can't wait to see how this knits up, but I love how she packaged this. I think this is super clever, and there's a little instruction on here that says how to wind your skein. So doing self-striping yarn as a hand dyer is a really difficult thing, and you have to have a really big loop to be able to get the length of the width of the stripes. So rather than her re-skeining or balling these up, she has left them as almost like a little beautiful necklace. Right, what's next? Oh, I've got this from Tiny Lola Yarn. Vicky was lovely. I had a really wonderful chat with her. And these are from her sheep and sheep in her area up in Avoca. It's a bag full of fleece, little pieces from different sheep. There is browns and greys, all sorts of little fun bits to spin together. It smells beautiful and sheepy, and it was just I was thinking that maybe one day I'll be able to do this with Vito, Evie, and Hurley, at least for myself. So I just wanted to see how it was going to spin up to be able to play with all of these little bits and pieces of fluff. And next to her, there was this wonderful lady who was making aprons and bags and big pieces of fabric out of the leftovers from wool bags. And unfortunately, I don't know her name. That was the one person. I'm really sorry that I didn't know what her shop name was. But what I got is this big piece of fabric, and the idea is that you can sit this over your lap while you're spinning, and all of the fluff from your spinning yarn won't stick to your clothes. Because I was finding, like, I wanted to just sit and spin for a few minutes before I went out or whatever, and I would end up with fluff on my clean clothes. Whereas this, nothing will stick to it, and it will just go over the top of my clothes, and then I can just pop it away. And yeah, it's a super clever idea and a great way to recycle. Um, I visited with Pauline from Melbourne City Dye Works, and I got this amazing pink purple color. It's coming up really true on the camera, so I'm really pleased about that. It's called Shock Me, and it is really, really pretty. And then to go with this, so I was thinking, what am I going to do with a single skein? This was literally just uh, a real impulse purchase, but I just love the color, and it's not something that I dye for myself. So then I was at the Wagtail Yarns booth, which is mohair. So they have their own goat farm, and they do all the processing from start to finish. This is kid mohair. It's a beautiful purple and teal. It's called Var Teal Orchid, and this is a 2-ply. No, it's a 4-ply. Just saw it on there. So this is a 4-ply. And I think what I want to do is hold these two together and make myself a beanie. So I'm thinking I'll probably sort of make my own pattern up and sort of do just hold this together from each end and do a brim, and then pop some stripes in holding this together, and then maybe hold one of each strand and then alternate and do some stripes of just the individual colors. I think that will show off both the colors of the yarn and just how pretty they look together. So I'm really excited about that. Now, I think the rest of what I have is fiber. I have a lot of yarn stash, so I didn't go too crazy on the yarn, but I did buy a fair bit of fiber. So I went to Fiber Art Shed, and I got one of their scrappy rovings. It's 50 grams, and it's beautiful rainbow colors, so that will be a little bit of fun to spin up. From Wool and Wire, and I have a couple of her shawl pins already, and we were having a chat about that, and then I saw this really pretty color, so I decided to get some fiber from her instead of a shawl pin. So this is merino silk, and the color is Stormbringer, and it is 100 grams, and it is a beautiful silver gray, and I thought that would go really well with a solid or a bright color that I could then fly together. So there's that one. Then I went to Bathsheba Farms, and I got a few things from there. I got the 50 grams of, this is Duchess, and it's a beautiful teal, almost the same color as my jumper. And then I got this one, which is merino in unicorn. And last but not least, I decided to try to dye myself some fiber as well. So I bought from Bathsheba Farm some of their Castledale. It's 200 grams. So I'll probably break it down into a couple of sections. And I'm going to try and dye some fiber for myself. If I enjoy the dyeing and then I sort of figure out how it translates from being dyed to spun, then it's something that I might look into in terms of buying some plain fiber and adding dyed fiber to my shop as well. So this is just a little fun experiment for myself at this point with some very lovely fiber. I've just got to hope that I don't burn it or felt it because it's not superwash. Think I'll wait until it's warmer weather so that it will dry more quickly. But yeah, that is some beautiful undyed fiber to play with. That was everything. It's quite a lot, but I have no regrets. I love everything that I bought, and I'm really excited to start using some of the things in projects coming up. I need to find patterns for the shawl that I want to make and the beanie I want to make. I may just end up using some stitch counts and then just sort of wing it a little bit for both or one of those projects. So I will be sharing that as I go along. But it was a wonderful Bendigo 2022. And thank you to all of the vendors and all of the people that I saw and chatted to. I had a wonderful day, and it was so great to have it back after not being able to be there for the past 2 years. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.